Right. So last week we started this parable. Okay, so the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner and he hires people, you know. So we saw that. So early in the morning, so we assumed it's about 5 o'clock in the morning. He hires workers for his vineyard. And okay, so people come in and start working. So they start early in the morning and they probably work till 6 p.m. and they agreed for a payment of 1 denarius. So that's just for our understanding, we scaled it to rupees and we thought, let's say 100 rupees, they're receiving 100 rupees for 1 day's work. So that's roughly about 13 hours of work, those who started at 5 a.m. Okay, and about 9 in the morning, this landowner goes out and hires more people. And if they start at 9 a.m., we calculated they work for about 9 hours. And we roughly estimated that they receive about 80 rupees. And then from 12 a.m., some people start working, that's 6 hours, and they should receive 50 rupees. And from 3 a.m., some people work only for 3 hours and they should probably receive 25 rupees. And in the evening, around 5 o'clock, he goes out again and he still sees people standing without work and he hires them and they probably work only for 1 hour. And in the evening, 8th verse, he calls them one by one in the reverse order, not in the order that they came in for work, but the last one is invited first. Okay. And each one is thinking, okay, probably I worked for this much, so I probably should get only this much. And that is where we stopped. And we did leak the story. We did reveal the suspense. Joshua explained to us that this is not how the landowner pays. The landowner is actually Jesus. It's referring to Jesus who, or it's God the Father who rewards people in heaven, or when we, the way we are treated in heaven. Okay, so let's jump and see part 2 of this parable. Okay, so it's 18. Okay, so one of you can read. Okay, so we have how many? 7 verses. Okay, yeah. So in the end, we will discuss the reasons in a more elaborate way. We'll go through the second part of the parable. Okay, yeah. One of you can read verse 9.
The workers who were hired about 5 in the afternoon came and each received a denarius.
Okay, so how much did we estimate they should receive?
10 rupees.
Okay, but they received how much?
100
rupees. Yeah. Okay, so let's draw that. Okay, so okay, so this person who came at 5 p.m. is thinking in his mind that I'm going to receive only 10 rupees. Okay, but he received 100 rupees. So okay, so let's draw God this side, and he's rewarding him with 100 rupees. No, you don't deserve 10. but you deserve, or I'm giving you rather 100 rupees. Okay. So let's maybe, okay. So I think that should be enough. Okay. So he's giving him 100 rupees. Okay. Okay. Second verse 10. So when those came, sorry, when those who came, there's some problem in the sentence, right? So when those came, okay, so when those came who were hired first, they expected to receive more, but each one of them also received a denarius. Okay, so okay, the last person received 100 rupees. So he worked for 1 hour. So people who worked for 13 hours should receive how much? Maths experts. 1 hour, 100 rupees, 13 hours.
1300.
1300 or 1300 rupees. So this person who came first is thinking in his mind, wow, the landowner has increased the salary. So I should get how much? The person who came last is getting 100 rupees. So that means I work 13 times more. So I will get 1300 rupees. But surprise, surprise. So how much did he get? How much did the landowner give him?
100 rupees.
100 rupees. Okay. So he got 100 rupees. Oh, 11. When they received it, what, they began to grumble against the landowner. I work from morning till evening and you're giving me only 100 rupees. Huh? Is that fair? Is that fair? Is that correct? It's a difficult question. So this person, whoever received this, very sad. I should draw a big sad face. Very sad. Okay. That looks like sad. Okay. And he's grumbling against the landowner. So how do we show grumble? We can put some unknown characters. What are the characters? Okay, so this is what is he paying me like that? He's grumbling, he's very sad. Okay. 12, verse 12. So these who were hired last worked only 1 hour. We already calculated, we know that. They said, okay, so these people, the people who came first, are complaining. The fellows who came now, they worked only for 1 hour. You forgot calculation, landowner. Maybe you don't have a calculator. So we worked for 13 hours and they worked for 1 hour. Please look at your notebook and time schedule. They're giving advice. And you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of work and the heat of the day. Now they came in the evening, they didn't see sun. Okay, so let's express that they're explaining their situation. So these people, okay, on one side, they carried a lot of burden through the day. Okay, so they did a lot of work. So we'll show that something like this. Okay. Yeah. And the sun was hot. So they were sweating. So you can draw, can show sun and it's hot. And they had to sweat. Let's show some sweat falling. Okay. So, okay, they did a lot of work. And these people are asking, okay, so did you forget and equate 13 hours to 1 hour? Is this equal? Is 13 equal to 1? That's what they're asking, actually.
No.
So you probably forgot to note down the time. We worked for 13 hours. And how can you equate it to 1 hour? Okay. So they're questioning. Okay. But he answered one of them. Who? The landowner. Landowner answers. 13th verse I'm reading. But he answered one of them. I am not being unfair to you, friend. He's saying, I'm not unfair to you. I'm being fair. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? You agreed to work for 100 rupees and I paid you 100 rupees. Is that fair? So there was an agreement. So this landowner is saying, you worked and you agreed to be paid 100 rupees for the amount of work you did. Okay. And I paid you 100 rupees. So let's maybe write work here. And the payment that was expected is 100 rupees. Okay. So he got paid 100 rupees. Okay. So this was for this much work. He was promised 100 rupees and he was paid 100 rupees. So that's fair, right? So whatever was agreed was paid, right? Okay, so that's what the landowner is explaining. Okay, so I didn't pay you less. So if I had paid you less, then you can complain. But I promised 100 rupees and you got 100 rupees. That's fair, my friend. It's addressing him as friend. Okay. Okay, verse 14. Take your pay and go. Don't complain. I want to give the one who was hired last the same as I gave you. Oh, that's a surprise. Will anybody pay like this on this planet Earth?
No.
So it's like in your exam, you go for writing exam. I think students can understand this. I'm a teacher. So in the exam hall, one person comes and writes for 3 hours. And he's given full marks. And then one person comes and writes only for 5 minutes. Whatever he wrote is correct. And he's also given full marks. Is that fair? Hmm? Yeah, that's how this landowner is explaining, correct? So it's the same thing. The landowner is saying the same thing, So I want to give the same amount to the person who was hired the last, who came in only for 1 hour. Okay, so he's saying, okay, so you worked for 13 hours. That's correct. Okay, so 13 hours. And one person worked only for 1 hour. Okay, and I want to give the same amount of money. Okay, the same amount of, oops, redraw it, same amount of money. Okay, so that's the landowner's choice. The landowner decides to give the same amount for both the people. So 13 hours, the person who worked 13 hours got what was promised to him, but the person who worked only for 1 hour also got the same amount. The landowner decided to do that. Okay. Okay. So he is giving some hint here in verse 15 why he does like that. Okay. Verse 15. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Hmm? Or are you envious because I am generous? Hmm? Okay, so why is this person complaining? This 13 hours person. I think now we can start discussing some reasons. Okay, so why is this person complaining? Did he receive less?
No.
What was promised to him? He was promised 100 rupees. Did he get 100 rupees? Yes.
Yes.
But why is he complaining? Hmm?
Because the landowner gave the 1 hour person 100 rupees. So the 13 hours person was thinking that he should have decreased the 1 hour person's amount of money.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay, Joshua, you had something to say? Joshua?
He thinks that he worked more than the person who worked for 1 hour.
Mm, okay. So what happens here? He is comparing himself with others, correct? Yeah. So he's saying that, you know, this is me. Okay, the 13-hour person. So let's write 13 here. Okay, me. Okay, I compare myself with a 1 hour person. This person worked for 1 hour. Okay, who is greater now? I am greater, right? I worked for 13 hours, so I'm greater, I'm better, and I deserve more. Yeah, I deserve more, like that. And this is the second reason the landowner is raising. So Jesus indirectly is speaking through the landowner, and he's asking, are you envious? Envy meaning what? We look at the other person and we think, how did he get the same amount? How did he get so much? If we don't compare, we will not envy. You know that? Only if we compare, we will envy. Uh, so are you envious because I'm generous? In the first part, he's saying, who owns all the money? The landowner owns all the money and he can give what he wants to anybody. Yeah, he can give 100 rupees without work also he can give, correct? Yes, it's his right. So he can give
Yes, sir.
without work also. And for 1 hour also he gave the same amount. So who owns all the money? Let's draw this. So that's one hint. Okay. I think I wanted to draw a big bag. Okay, this is all the space I have. So he owns all the money. Okay. The landowner has all the money, so he can decide what to do with this money. That's point number one. Point number two, he's asking, why are you envying by looking at your partner who worked only for 1 hour? You think you deserve more? Probably not. Okay, so let's see verse 16. Okay, verse 16, what does he say? So the last will be first and the first will be last. What does it mean? So the one who thinks, let me draw it like this. Okay, the one who thinks, do you know illusion? Do you understand illusion? What is illusion?
Uh,
Uh, who has seen illusion?
Something that we see that is actually not real.
Yeah, right. So we think it's like that, but actually in reality, it's not so. Yeah. So, okay. So I thought I'll draw in a different way. Okay. So I think first will be last. Let's draw it in a line only. So we get it. Okay. So there are a lot of people standing in a line. So let's draw 4 of them. Okay. So the first person is thinking, I am better than the second person. The second person is thinking, I am better than the third person. Third person is thinking, I am better than the last person. Okay. But in God's perspective, so the first person will be the last, the second person will be the last but one, and the third person will be the second person, and the last person will be the first person. Why so? We're going to discuss. So that is what we need to discuss. Okay, so this is what we see in verse 16. Okay, so people think more about themselves, so we all think more about themselves. Do we think we deserve okay, so let's think about this landowner as God now, and we discuss. Okay, he's explaining kingdom of God is like this, kingdom of heaven is like this. So what do you think? Do we deserve heaven? Do we deserve going to heaven?
yes, uncle.
Yes, or is it God's grace?
It's God's grace, uncle.
Yeah, we don't deserve heaven, right? So in heaven, who is invited? Sinless people, correct? Person who hasn't sinned. So we all have sinned, correct? So we actually don't deserve heaven, right? So but if we are going to heaven, it is the grace of God, right? So We can't say, I deserve heaven. No. So if you've read the story, the disciples started fighting once. Who is greater? You remember? Hmm? Uh, each of them started saying, I am greater, and then Jesus will say the same statement there also. The first will be last, and the last will be first. What does it mean? So we think that we deserve. Okay, so I'll give an example. Okay, so a person who has worked all his life for God, so say for example 70 years. Okay, so 70 years he believed in God, he had a pink heart. Okay, and he brought many people to God. Okay, so let me express like this. He brought many people to God, so many pink hearts. Okay, right. Okay, so he brought many people to God. But one other person, okay, he also lived for 70 years, but all his 70 years till the end, he had black heart. Okay, and he made many people have black heart. He did so many bad things. Okay, and he corrupted many people. He didn't help many people, but in the end, he got a pink heart. Hmm? So who deserves heaven more? Hmm? Huh? Let's label the person. So person A and person B. So who deserves heaven more? Hmm? Difficult question. Because we think differently and God thinks differently, right? So the person A thinks, Ari, I worked all my life for God, and God has a special place for me in heaven, next to Abraham, next to Lazarus. So I deserve more. Huh? This fellow B, he did all the rubbish in his life, and just before the day before his death, he accepted Jesus. He got a pink heart. Huh? How can B also have the same place? Hmm? That's wrong thinking. Why? Because I'll give you some reasons. Okay, so I've noted down some reasons. Mhm. Um, First thing, okay, um, we don't deserve anything. Okay, so that is what I was trying to explain. Okay, so maybe in a different page, I'll just write down the reasons. I think it's better to write down. Okay, so first reason I should say is we don't deserve. Sorry. Okay, we don't deserve anything actually, because we're all sinners. Okay, so we've all fallen short of the glory of God. So if this person A believed in God, by whose strength, by whose grace did he believe in God? Who helped him?
God helped him.
God helped him, right? It is God who helped him. And that is why he was able to have a pink heart from the beginning. Person B got the pink heart in the end. Who helped him? God helped him. Without God's help, both of them would have continued on to have black heart and would have gone far away from God. It is because God helped, both A and B could manage to get pink heart, right? So without God's help, we cannot have, we don't deserve anything. Okay, so that's, let me write that as point 2. Okay, so for both A and B, God's grace, okay, God's grace was abundant. Okay, so was there in plenty. Okay, that's why that's why they got a pink heart. They got a chance to have a pink heart and they could get into heaven. Okay, and okay, third reason I want to give is, how much is 70 years compared to infinity? We've already discussed that, right? 70 years is like a dot, right? So a dot, so we say that I worked for 70 years, but that's like a dot compared to infinity for God. So you work for 70 years or you work for 7 seconds. You believe in God for 70 years or you believe in God for 7 seconds. That's both like a dot for God, right? So God looks at that, okay, like a dot. So for God, God is beyond time and space, right? So for God, if you if you believed in him for 70 years or just 7 seconds before death, it's all like a dot because God is beyond time and space. Okay. Okay. Fourth reason I would like to give is God looks at the heart. Okay. God looks at the heart. Okay. So, and not at the work or time. Okay. God looks at the heart. Okay. Not time. Let's draw a clock. Okay. How long you're holding on to God. Okay. Not that, or how hard you are working. Okay. So how big load or burden you're carrying. Okay. Did you understand this point? Okay. So some people can say, I worked hard for God for 70 years, no? But God is not interested in the number of hours we work. And God is also not very much concerned about the amount of work we do. Okay. But he looks at the heart. Okay. So at any situation, God expects us to have a pink heart. Okay. Whether life is tough, whether life is easy, we should have a pink heart. Okay. Right. Does that make sense? Okay. One more point. Last point, maybe probably the important point. Okay. God is free to do anything because he is God. So I'm going to draw the crown. Okay. Because he is God, he is free to do anything. Is that right? How big is this universe? Do you know?
Massive.
What, Avia?
It's math.
Did he say it's massive?
Yes.
Okay, okay. How many stars are there in this universe?
Billions of millions.
Yeah. Nobody knows. How many particles in this universe? How many atoms?
Even more than that.
Yeah, so they say 10 power 90 or 10 power 120, something like that. No, that's a very, very big number. Okay. So we don't even know how big the universe that God has created is. Okay. So obviously, God is so much more powerful and so much more big. And we are in a tiny little planet called Earth. And we are in a tiny little corner of this planet. Okay, solar system itself is very tiny. Milky Way galaxy itself is so tiny. And God is awesome. We often think that God is very small, just a little big brother compared to us. But no, God is awesome. He's huge. So he is free to do anything. And we cannot complain. Can we? No, we cannot complain. Okay, so let me list these reasons once again, just in case you didn't get some of this. So first point I said, from the story, what we learn is we actually don't deserve anything because we receive everything from God. Okay, so even the strength for working, everyday grace, our muscles and bones work properly. We have health in our body, we have air to breathe. It's all God's grace. Okay. Second point, we drew a person A and B on top. So yeah, okay, so I think I explained that also. So we live by the grace of God. If God did not give us grace, we cannot do anything on this planet Earth. Okay. Third point, for God, 70 years or 7 seconds of belief, it's both like a dot before God, because God is beyond time and space. Okay. And the fourth point, God looks at our heart and not the amount of time or the effort that we put in. Okay. So effort is important. Number of hours is important, but not more than the heart. And the fifth point, God is free to do anything because he is God, right? Okay, does that make sense now for this parable? Do you have any other point to add? Any questions?
So that's why the landowner gave the equal amount of money to the 13-hour and 1 hour. Because
Yes,
because he looked at the heart.
correct. Yeah. So, okay. So looking at this parable, those people did not get work, right? So they were standing outside. So if somebody gave them work, they would have worked, right? So people did not give them work. So nobody hired them. So they couldn't work. So probably that's one reason God looked, the landowner looked at their heart, so they wanted to work. That's why they're standing, and probably like that. But yeah, so as we don't deserve anything, it's all the grace of God. So the landowner could have given any amount to anyone, and that's his choice, right? Yes, Aradhya, sorry.
Sir, I have joined late and I didn't do the 9 to 15 that you have
Okay,
done.
okay. Uh, it's all right. I'll upload the video shortly, okay? Did you understand the reason that we
Yes.
discussed? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So, uh, yeah, we understand about God a lot from this parable, that God is not like how we think people react, right? So God is very different, and we should think of God as someone very big, not like our older brother with whom we can fight and claim and complain and argue. No, not like that. Okay. Okay. Any other question or any point you would like to add? Did you um, find out any other point that I did not talk about? Last week, I asked you to find a reason in case you have any other reason.
He does not see partial.
He's not partial. Is that what you said, Joshua?
Yes, uncle.
Okay. Yeah, he's definitely not partial. Yeah. So, yeah. In a
Yes.
different sense. Yeah. So, not like how we understand partiality. Like, so if we see this story, then we will think he is partial because he gave the same amount to both 13 hours and 1 hour person. But God is not partial in the sense that he looks beyond what they work and what the number of hours they put in. He looks at the person's heart, and he rewards them accordingly. And that way he's not partial. Man, we people, we look at how much work he has done and how many hours he has worked. That's all. We don't know his heart, right? God goes beyond the outside things, and God looks deep inside, and he rewards them. Yeah. Avia, you said something?
I was saying he is generous.
He is generous. He is very generous. Probably he was generous with the person who worked for 13 hours also. Maybe he doesn't deserve a denarius. So probably that is also possible. Yeah. And did you all understand the 16th verse? The first will be last, the last will be first. What does that mean? I think maybe you can spend 2 minutes.
Some people who are Christians from the birth, they are sometimes fall into the sin. But some people who are not born as Christians will go to heaven.
Awesome. Do you remember the story that we did? The tax collectors and the adulterers will overtake the Pharisees.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, something like that. This one. Yeah. So people who think big about themselves, when we reach heaven, we will see we are the least, and people who think we are very small, we worked only for 1 hour, we didn't do anything for God, I feel so ashamed about myself, I'm a sinner, like that, they will be honored in heaven, and God will appreciate them more because of their humble heart and not proud heart. People who think they are number one will be proud people. So we should always be humble. Maybe it makes sense to put number here. Right. So if you think I'm number one before God, that's probably you can be sure that we'll be number 4 in heaven, right? So we shouldn't be proud. We shouldn't have a fat heart. Okay. Okay. Any other point? Anything else you want to share? Otherwise, we can pray and close. Okay. So let's pray. Would one of you like to pray? Anyone? Last Color and Draw Bible study for the year. So anyone would like to pray?
Uncle,
Yes. Go ahead.
our Father, we thank you that and thank you about this Color Bible study. Thank you for making us attend this Color Bible study. Thank you for Uncle to give us to make us root more into Christ. May this in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So please fill in a form that I've sent a form. Okay. So you can fill in the form so we'll know what to study.